Roger, go for deploy.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Adventure Fit Radio. This week we have a very dear friend of the show's back on. This is the first time we've done number 2, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, this is the first two-time guest. I was stoked.
Yeah, we had Michael Inglis back on the show. So, good old mate Michael Inglis, Mickey D's. No, that doesn't make any sense. Mickey Inglis. He's a psychologist, a sports psychologist as his primary role, and then a mental health expert and psychologist as his secondary role. He works with AFL clubs. I'm pretty sure he's with the Kangaroos at the moment.
Yeah, he works with the Kangaroos.
With the Kangaroos, yeah. And he was on the show, I think he was our second show.
Third. Dan Ableg was second.
Dan Ableg was second, yeah. And he absolute ripping lad. And we sat down with him. We wanted to catch up with him, see what he's doing. Lots of cool stuff. He's still working highly in the mental health, the mindfulness realm. And it's a really good show. I really enjoyed it. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah, I had a great time. He's a fantastic guy. This time we talked a little more about mental health in terms of just the general populace rather than sports psychology, which I really wanted to hear about. So I think it was really good. Couple of gags in there. A
few gags. One particular gag, which you guys will find out, that nearly had to stop the show. Nearly stopped.
It was pretty good. Alrighty. So the show today, guys, is brought to you by True Pride. So True Pride are a wealth creation service who work with ambitious individuals and families looking to take control, worry less, and get ahead. If you're looking for a way to control your money, True Pride is a wealth coaching business that will provide you with all the tools for you to fast track this. Head to www.truepride.com.au/ADVF to waive the joining fee of $297 if you book through there. So what True Pride are, guys, they're working with me and Tommy in fixing our budget. So at the moment,
our budget,
we're working with Craig from True Pride, and he's itemizing all of our budget. Goes through your bank feeds and all your expenses, and then he's average on this program that we're on, which costs $97 a month, his average is $150 per week saving in your budget with no change in your lifestyle. So it's a $600 a month benefit for the cost of $97. So we're trying it out. So far, we're just itemised everything, looking at a few small wins and stuff at the moment. And it's going really well. We haven't got too far into it, but that's the idea. Average $150 a week. So that's what we're trying to do with True Pride.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's really good. It just, as Bill's saying, it uses the software CashFit, which it just gives you a very clear visual of where your money goes, and it's always up to date. And it's really, I know for me, like financially, I'm a bit stressed at the moment, but it's just, I don't know, for you, you're the same? It's just sort of really helping out.
Yeah, it's just good to be able to look at how much money you've got and how much you can allocate to each place, like fun, work, and then savings and stuff.
Expenses, food. And,
it's really good, guys. So www.truepride.com.au/ADVF to join for free.
Excellent.
We're also brought to you by Carve. Carve is a company that specialises in anything digital, from building apps, designing logos, automating your business, down to starting your next event. Carve is a partner to be when you want to have more time to focus on the things that you love and to scale your business. So Carve, guys, are where I get my assistants from in the Philippines. So Mon and Alvin are our assistants. Alvin works on Adventure Fit Radio predominantly, and then Mon works as Adventure Fit Travel. He's my number one guy. Pretty much, I don't know where I'd be without Mon, because he's literally the biggest influence in Adventure Fit Travel besides myself, pretty much. He's been great. So I pay these guys good money in Filipino money, and obviously it's very cost effective in Australian dollar or US dollar. So I think it's like, it's I think $7 or $6 or $7 an hour. These guys get looked after over in the Philippines, and then it's very cost effective for people that, like myself, earn an Aussie dollar. So if you want to get your life back, or you want to extrapolate what you can do in your business, then you can try that with Carve. Couldn't come more highly recommended. www.carve.ph/ADVF, and you'll get 10 free hours on any project you want to take up.
Absolutely.
Adventure Fit Travel, as always, guys, www.adventurefittravel. Check out our Mexico trip we've just released. We got Jared Fleming, American champion weightlifter. We're diving in cenotes, checking out new 7 wonders of the world, Chichen Itza, the ruins at Tulum, stand-up paddleboarding, training every day. It's going to be great. And anyway, that's it though. So here's the show.
Boom.
Alrighty, guys. Welcome back to Adventure Fit Radio. No tribute for you today because we have our first ever two-time guest, Michael Inglis. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Phil. How are you going?
Good. I'm well. Why don't you give us an update? The last 6 months, the mind room, your practice, and what have you been up to since we caught up?
Well, plenty, because there's obviously I probably caught you, I imagine, in the pre-season of AFL or so on.
Yes.
So
yes.
they're in finals mode, and I'm around for another week.
Very good.
Mind room, lots of happening. We're doing trying to do as many workshops and classes as possible. Got a couple coming up in the sports and performance area. 1 in October, just all performance mental skills. Like it's basically a come and try it day. So we're doing 6 performance mental skills over the course of a day, and you can just pick and choose, mix and match which ones you want to come to.
Yep.
And then in November, I'm doing like a bit of a half-day workshop called the Mindful Athlete. So the different ways mindfulness can be used or applied in athletes. So that'll be the last 2 kind of 2 workshops days that I'll do for the rest of the year. And then we'll kind of reboot for 2017.
Cool.
I'm going to get straight into it. Because you do a lot of stuff with athletes as well. Have you seen some clear results as in how mindfulness can help an athlete? It's hard to sort of quantify, I guess, because you can know, how would they have been here without mindfulness or with mindfulness? But have you seen a real change in how mindfulness helps some of your athletes on the field specifically?
Yep. There'd be certain parameters I could probably tell, or they could actually inform me about. There is some kind of particular tests you can do particularly around attention and awareness and so on.
Yeah.
But, subjectively, you could ask them, a few questions. How often they stay in the moment. So how often do they become distracted by what may happen in the future versus, or reflecting in the past versus how they are in the present. How outcome focused they are versus process focused is another good question. I think it will give you the answer of how mindful they're being. How often they're actually performing to their best. So
that's what I was going to say.
What's that?
Statistically as well.
Yeah.
You'd be able to gauge it, how their actual performance.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So they're their best, they're their biggest critic. So they'll let you know if they don't think they're performing that well. But how close they are performing to their full potential is a good representation of how mindful they're being. And depending on the sport and so on, but in a game like Aussie Rules where it's 120 minutes, how long they're in the present moment for and able to maintain attention is a bit of a factor as well.
So when you say maintain attention, how would an athlete lose their attention? They'll just drop out of... for Australian rules or for our listeners that are like other sports, like gridiron, soccer, it's all kind of the same.
The open sports that are continuous.
Yeah, the open continuous sports. So... What do you mean? What do you actually mean by obviously dropping attention? We know what that means, but in terms of the run of play, how do you drop in and out of focus like that?
Yeah, it's surprising because if we were there as a supporter or whatever, or an observer, we watch it and it looks like there's people running around and involved the whole time. But their mind at times is the way I can explain it is when they're task focused. That's when they're actually on task to what they need to do. But a lot of the time they're self-focused. So they're self-evaluating or self-critiquing. How did I just do then? What am I about to do now? Am I doing the right thing? So we're talking about 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 second delays.
Yep.
But depending on the sport, how far can someone leave, your opposition leave you in 0.3 a second?
Gotcha.
1.5 metres. So...
That makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
That's how I was when I was a junior footy player. I had... a little bit of talent, so I went through the interleague, so like the league's representative, and then like Stingrays or the early TAC stuff, and then that was the combination of leagues and leagues put together. Obviously, the next level, and I always performed well. Didn't overthink things like you say, come out of the moment at all locally. When I would go into interleague, I was always the captain or like one of the better players. So I was good and I'd play well, and I felt confident and comfortable. And then when I went to Stingrays, because of just the bigger fish in the pond, I just didn't feel confident at all. And those were the thoughts. It was like anxiety of sport. Like I'd never actually, that makes perfect sense because I think, and I performed terribly at Stingrays. Like it was a whole other level above. There were so much better players I was playing against and with. But I think out of reaching my potential at local level, I was probably like 80%. At interleague level, I was probably like 75%. And at Stingrays level, I was probably like 40% of my potential because of what was going on in my head. So that makes perfect sense. So how do you train that then?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how it kind of been mindfulness as well, is the fact that you can keep on, because really what's going on is, do I belong to be here? Am I going to be good enough against these guys? Gee, he's really good. Oh, he's better than me. How am I going to compete, etc., etc. When you're going through that dialogue, all you're doing is being completely absorbed by what's going inside your own head. And so you probably don't even notice it, but the game's still going. You've stopped for 5 seconds considering this.
100%.
Yeah.
And so you've missed a chance. You missed an opportunity to be involved in the next contest. So really learning to have those, it's not the thoughts of the issue, but it's how the impact of those thoughts.
Yeah.
So how those wash off.
Yes.
So people who are effective in mindfulness are allowed to have those thoughts, but it doesn't really impact on them. They have it and they just almost like wash off.
Yeah.
But they're still involved on task at hand.
You know, the biggest thing that I've found with mindfulness now, because I started it with you, and that was a good couple of years ago now, but the biggest thing that I've found that it carries over into every aspect of life. Like, you know, I'll sit at home and I'll meditate, and then I'll try to stay really present by breathing and jumping into a cold shower or things like that. And I'll find that I'm not thinking about as many things when I'm doing CrossFit, when I'm kicking the footy, when I'm public speaking, when I'm like every single thing. Yep. So are there specific things you would do with athletes as opposed to what you would do with the everyday person that comes in with anxiety disorders? Yeah,
that's right. So, you know, depending on the sport, you've got to be able to find opportunities where they can actually apply it. So it's what we call, there's the formal practice, which is more that meditation kind of component, versus the informal practice. So what can they do whilst they're still running around playing? Because you can't be cross-legged sitting in a peaceful environment at that moment to meditate, can you?
I've done it. Just bring your own pillow.
So you've got to cue into a few things. So I get a lot of time I'm really sensory, something, it's where touching the grass or something like that. Sometimes it's been what we call anchoring with the breath. So just that one breath and engaging what that feels like as a bit of a reset button for them to go again.
Okay.
But it depends on sport to sport. So this is the challenge we have now in AFL in terms of, previously in our juniors, whatever position you played, you would have had rests. So you would have played a position, and wherever that ball is called in the thirds, back, mid, forward, you would have had little rests. So you might have been involved for a third of the time, probably midfield a bit more. You involved a third of the time as such, but you had little mental rests.
Little zones and rest. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
AFL now, or you would have found a Dandenong, you're expected to defend. Yeah. When you don't have the ball, you're expected to be in a particular position.
Rolling zones and all that stuff.
They're involved the whole time. There is no time to switch off, apart from the breaks. So when they're on the ground, there's no time.
So is that why you say you try and get that one breath that you anchor yourself off? So how does that... See, that's another thing. Like, I try and meditate daily now, and some days I feel like I get a real mind-clearing response from it, and some days, you just don't really get the same from doing it. But my mum's always been really big into meditation. She's always said...
Really?
Yeah. She's a yoga teacher. She's like Reiki, whatever. I don't even know what Reiki is.
Yeah, what is Reiki?
But
do you know what Reiki is?
Hovering the hand over someone.
Oh, right, okay.
I think it's like hom. Yeah. Is this what you meant? Hom.
It's an energy thing, right?
So I put on a meditation.
Chakras, I know that.
I put on a meditation thing last night. It's like 3-hour Reiki meditation. Yeah. Okay, this is some bizarre word that I don't know. Bang. That was great. No idea what it is though.
I actually have no idea what Reiki is whatsoever. But she's always told me, like, with stress and anxiety or whatever, to just breathe, like just get a couple of big breaths, and for me, I've never really been able to get my head around that either. So how would you actually, like, say you're in the middle of a field and you get yourself 5 seconds to a point's been kicked or a goal's been kicked, and you've actually got a second to gather your thoughts after you've been a bit erratic. How do you actually... I know it's just a breath. Yeah. I know how to breathe one breath, but like, how would you explain it to me?
It's a way it might be just focusing on one component of it. So it might be how the lungs expand or the chest expands, and you might feel the rise and fall of it.
Yeah.
And that just kind of recenters away from the ongoing particular thoughts that's going to, the mind wanting to wander and so on. So it just kind of recenters you to where you are right now. Right. What do I need to do right now?
Yeah.
So a lot of time with the guys, I try and spend a lot of time talking about what do they need to do next. So it's very technical or very instructive, but it's really like the inner coach. Because the mind will always wonder. It's not really the issue. It's okay, but how to keep it more on track. The breath is just that that kind of refresh. I call it the refresh button. It's the F5,
Yeah.
where we start again. If you got that 5 seconds when someone kicks a point, refresh. Okay, what do I need to do now? How am I going? What do I need to do?
And if you train it like, if you actually call it the refresh button and they know that that's their go-to, it's something that maybe makes them feel comfortable as well and brings them back. If it's a habit.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that probably because for me with meditation, if it's not working for me with meditation, you talk about the breathing, raising of the chest. Mine is it was in one of the Buddhify meditations. They talk about just focus on just this. So you're thinking just this.
Yep.
Just this. And the only things I'm thinking about is the air going in my nostrils and out my mouth. That's the only two things.
Yep.
And that's what runs through my head.
Yep.
So you just try and give them that chest or the couple of words or something like that, and then use it as their go-to throughout the game.
Yep, that's right.
Cool.
Yep.
What other practices do you have for like in-game stuff or
for in-game? Look, the other one that is fairly crucial as well, I think, is when they come kind of on and off the bench. So I think they're really good opportune times to be able to switch off. But it's really, they get a little bit caught unawares when they're coming back on again. So a lot of them actually have some difficulty kind of refocusing. It's like their mind rests and it wants to stay there.
too relaxed?
Yeah, so it's almost like how to get them clicking back into gear again. And so they'll do different things. They'll remind themselves of their different focus points that they're trying to execute during the game. For some guys, it's actually quite more physical. Like they'll actually need to do something more physical before they jump on the ground or get ball in hand or something like that, because it'll just sharpen their brain again back into focus. But now the rotations are less, but it's the on and off kind of component.
Right.
I think, and the other one I think is more important because of the lack of rotations now is the physical fatigue they go through. So what I try and teach them with physical fatigue is it's just a sensation. It doesn't have to wreck you. So physical fatigue for most of us is lactic acid and something pretty uncomfortable.
Yep.
But it's also a side to the brain of I can't keep going.
Yeah.
I'm cooked.
Yes.
I'm done. It means I want to give up or I want to finish. I want this to end right now. What I'm trying to teach them is, although they're understandable thoughts, they're the body telling the mind it wants to quit.
Yeah.
You don't allow. That doesn't have to overpower you. They just have to be particular thoughts, and you've just got to keep on focusing on what you need to do next.
Huh.
Yep.
That's interesting because I've always thought of sports psychology as like you say, underperformance and zoning out and somebody overthinking things like we were discussing. I never actually thought of it as being able to
Push through the pain? Or?
Like use your fitness to a better degree because you're able to switch that mind off.
Yeah.
So that's a big one too, eh?
So the mind and body have an ongoing relationship. And so most of the time in my work, it's about the mind trying to execute the body what it wants to do or needs to do. But a lot of time the body is sending signals to the mind that then signals back to the body, yep, I'm quitting. So
Yeah. But there's classic examples of that sort of stuff. I mean, on one of the first albums I ever bought I think it was Battle of Los Angeles. It's a Rage Against the Machine album. And it had that famous photo of, fantastic. Oh, no, it wasn't that album. That is a great album. But I think it was a self-titled one. Anyway, it had that famous photo of that Tibetan monk who set himself on fire as a protest for the Vietnam War. And that is just, I would say, in terms of mindfulness, that's probably up there with the best,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, I don't really have anything to say to this. But,
Hang on, wait. What?
Well, have you seen that photo?
No, I'm not sure about it.
So it's a photo. So this monk during the Vietnam War, as a protest, set himself on fire and was able to stay present in the moment and not. I mean, apparently.
What?
But apparently being burned is one of the most painful things that can happen to you.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. There's a video.
I wasn't sure what you meant. I'm like, surely he's not saying what I think he's saying.
No. There's a video of YouTube of it. Like, I've seen it. It's pretty distressing stuff, So I'm not going to say anyone out there that it has been previously burned. don't go look this up. But look, it's out there. And I mean, that sort of stuff's insane. But it just goes to show how far you can get with this sort of stuff.
Walking on the coals.
Oh, well,
My
exactly
dad walked
right.
on the coals, at a Tony Robbins conference thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, apparently about 30, he did that recently in the US and 30 of them had to go to hospital or something.
But it changes their life.
Yeah.
Now they just have to pay money for their feet.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you feel? Is there any correlation between people that have? Or it makes sense to me that it'd be a direct correlation, but it might not. People that have kind of ongoing anxiety, depression, like troubles off the field, transfers to those same troubles on the field, or does it not
totally.
really work like that?
Surely.
Well, Yeah, both. I mean, absolutely you can, but it doesn't have to, is what I'm suggesting. So, sometimes we have like anxious personalities, so they're going to be anxious off the field and off, or more prone to it off and on the field. So there's definitely a relationship there, but not always. There's people who are fairly calm, relaxed off field, and they're really anxious kind of on field.
Really?
And then there's people who, are anxious off field, but when they get to playing,
it's their outlet almost. Yeah.
They're pretty calm.
Right.
They actually feel really comfortable.
Yeah, they feel like they're at home.
Yeah, another really good profession it's a good representation of that is comedians.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about it. You probably heard a little bit about this.
We had a comedian on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking a lot about that. But yeah.
What did he say?
Well, do you know Adam Rosenbach's?
No.
Oh, good, because he's listening to the show right now. So no, he was he doesn't from memory he doesn't do it too much as an outlet or anything. But you think about some of the comedians out there that are publicly known to have depression and all that sort of stuff, and they use I've got this weird theory, right, where comedians, we all know that they're so good at being able to view the world in weird ways. Because I believe, because they're sort of overthinkers, and then because they're overthinkers, they're naturally prone to mental health issues.
And intelligent.
And intelligent, yeah. And that's why they're so funny, because they see the world like none of us do. But the dark side of that is they also see a lot of the negative things that are out there, Is that, do you...
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk more generally in this, that with comedians about people that are overthinkers and intelligent are more prone to that. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the time comedians, it's a place where they can just release their alter ego.
Oh,
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I remember reading do you know Quora?
Quora.
Quora?
The
Quora
Indian,
Digest?
the Indian cuisine. It's a bit of balsamic rice, and you get some.
It's like a website where you can go online and ask any question in the world, and there'll be 50 scholars that'll answer you.
Really?
It's an awesome website, and I somehow am on their mailing list. I don't know how or why, but they give me they give me all these. My inbox will have like, what would happen if you put an ant on Mars? And I'm like, that's an interesting question. And I'll just flick through and I'll read like 10 minutes of all these ridiculous, anyway. So
Any of them useful?
So some of it is, I don't know how I ended up on this list, but I'm glad it is because it's good. But I remember reading a Quora post about intelligence, and what's somebody who's like high intelligence, like 140 IQ, something like that?
Yeah. Yep.
So but isn't it that once you get past 140 or you get past like a high range of IQ, then your risk of suicide and depression goes up like tenfold every 10 points of IQ?
I don't think there's a direct correlation between the two, but yeah, there is. There is that kind of suggestion that
Fucking Quora.
Yeah. Look,
unsubscribe.
Yeah.
as someone that has an IQ of 246, I can assure you that is not the case.
Yeah, right.
There's a gun in my bag.
Don't.
That's a terrible joke.
Don't worry about that then. The Mental Health Week show, really good gag coming.
Yeah.
So what about these, going back to you talked about the programs that you've been running through the Mind Room.
Yep.
So you talked about a program where you have 6 different courses you can choose.
6 different mental skills.
Mental skills you can choose.
This is like, it's a bit of a, so, usually we do these things a bit more of an expansive, but in this kind of come and try days, we're giving you 6 different skills over an hour of the day. So, fairly just giving some good tasters. And allows you to kind of work out which ones you would like to choose. And obviously there's an all-day ticket as well you can get. For a lot of people who haven't done any kind of mental skills before, or performance skills, it's actually really good to do because then they kind of understand a little bit about what the psychology component's about, and they're getting good tasters about what can they actually apply for their sport.
So, sorry, I keep cutting you off.
That's all right, because I just find different mental skills apply more depending on the sport you're in.
Right. So this is more. This is sports psychology. These six parts. So what are some of the other practices in the 6 practices that you give to these people for the testers?
Well, on this day is one about goal getting, arousal control. So goal getting is really about how people set goals, but not many people how to get them, and a bit of an application for that. Arousal control, so it's about how where you want your arousal levels when you perform. So it's not about what's right or wrong. It's working out what's the intensity that kind of works for you. Other one is routines. So in a lot of closed sports, routines are super important in terms of for the mind. Most people are quite good at routines behaviourally, but not psychologically. So
closed sports?
Yeah.
So as in more predictable sports?
Yeah, so when you like diving, shooting, where you actually exercise the time you want to perform in.
As opposed to the unpredictability of a football game.
Yep.
Okay, I'm with you. Yep.
Yeah, because you have to perform. You have to be ready at all times.
Yeah.
Whenever you need to perform. And I do with my a sports psychologist in my room as well called Marina. She's doing this as well, and she's doing something on self-talk.
Yep.
Doing one on imagery, the different types of imagery you can do, like recovering from injury, mastery injury, where you can visualize yourself performing at your best. The other one we're doing is about, when coaches talk about control the controllables.
Yeah.
What do they actually mean when they say that? What are the different factors that actually are involved in that? So it's just a bit of a catchphrase, but actually no one actually understands what it means.
Yeah, right.
So we try and teach exactly what those specifics are.
Okay.
God, do you know, this is a massive tangent, but I feel the exact same way about when people say, you should always eat bananas. Bananas have potassium. It's like, okay, what's potassium? But just eat it. It's got potassium. It's like,
K plus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hey, I know what it is. Hey, what do you? I just drew on something before, and I forgot. Yeah. How do you feel about routine? People that go through their routine and stuff. Because I used to have a lot of routines, and it just kicked me in the ass because I felt like if one little thing went wrong, I was screwed.
Yeah. You got to be careful with routines. So, routines can, there's lots of different types of routines. So we're not the ones that we're going to be talking about on this particular day. We're talking about that, the last within 30 seconds before you actually have to do a performance. So as opposed to preparation, you as the AFL player.
Yes.
You would have maybe a routine or preparation the 2 days before and the night before, the morning of, when you arrive at the ground, blah, blah, blah. The ones, and you can have them, that's okay. The ones we're sharpening in on is when you're going for goal.
Okay.
When you're about to lift something.
Yep.
Like, what are you doing in those last 15 seconds before you lift? What is your mind doing at that point in time? That really narrowing or zeroing in on that last 10 or 15 seconds when you want to perform. However, we also understand that, people like routines longer than that.
Yeah.
I think when you ask that question, you're talking about the more longer ones.
Well, people have some bizarre routines, don't they? If I don't eat like this spaghetti, Thursday night carbo loading, or if I don't like this
They
and
don't
that.
wear their lucky jocks
Lucky socks
on the Thursday before the game.
Yeah. It's a pretty, in my opinion, it's relatively dumb.
So you've got to be careful. Some of them are, look, you've got to, preparation's important, and I say to people, good preparation will give you the best possible chance of performance. So if it's predictable and something that works for you, absolutely repeat it as much as you can. But you've got to allow for things to go wrong. So, the cycling team I'm in, for example, there's so much to do. Bikes are so finicky little things that they have to kind of play with and toy with. Things can go wrong. Like you've got to adjust the gear or get the pressure right on the tyres or, et cetera, et cetera. So it's good to have a routine, but you've got to have some flexibility around it as well, depending on your sport.
We actually had we had two shows before. This is our fourth show today.
Yeah, it is.
Me and Tommy
really?
sat down and
We've been on.
We've been on since 6:30 this morning.
Yeah.
Because when we have US guests on Skype, it's normally got to be really early because it's like evening for them, or otherwise it doesn't really work.
Okay.
So we had a guy, Ben Bergeron, who coached both the CrossFit Games champions this year, men and women.
All right.
And he was talking about talking about maybe routines and habits and things going wrong, mainly talking about things going wrong. So he had, what he would do for his athletes is he would get them to write the list of as many things as they could think of that could and would go wrong in the competition.
Yep.
And then what's the worst thing that can happen and how do we address it in that scenario. So they kind of felt like, even if it was their routine and something went wrong, I suppose, they knew that, hey, we've already mentally in the back of their head, they're like, we have technically planned for this.
Yeah.
It's not going to end the competition for me, and it's also, I know that I have to implement this and this to get myself out of this problem. I thought that was interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
I heard there's a sports psychologist in Britain who did exactly the same exercise for their Olympic team.
Right.
They just put it out there. They kind of flooded the idea of like the 100 worst case scenarios for all their athletes and went through it all and then actually did all the contingencies and spoke it out, and then everyone got a copy of it so they knew how to prepare for that scenario.
This year?
2012.
Have you seen how good Britain have been going? Like their Olympic growth, their medal growth? They've been
going really well.
Yeah, just consistently every year getting better and better and better.
I was just going to say that. I wonder if that's solely related to... But it depends on the sport, doesn't it?
Yep.
Like with AFL, how many more scenarios could you think of that wouldn't go wrong? It'd just be tough.
You could think of 1,000 scenarios in the AFL, but I mean, you could probably think of the more important...
the more realistic.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's kind of a little bit different because they're playing on a more regular basis. With these Olympic sports, they get one every 4 years. You got to get better prepared for it. Like in AFL, those things are already going wrong each week as learning lessons anyway. So they just get the next week to bounce back.
Hey, so let's go back to some of your workshops you do with not sport related people that sort of sign up for these things. How do you introduce the idea of mindfulness and meditation to people that are relatively skeptical about it? Because I know that for me it was such a profound influence on my life, but when I first started doing it, I was really not getting anything from it. Probably for the first 9 to 10 months. Like I just thought, breathing, like this is doing me nothing, all this and that. How do you sort of slowly introduce that idea?
Well, really, it's about generally when the discussion comes, when you actually coming up with the idea, is that they're presenting with some sort of issue, aren't they? Typically, people don't come off the street and say, "Hey, what can you suggest for me?"
Yeah,
so,
they're coming to you. Yeah,
yeah. They'll, so you got to actually be able to go, how can you apply it? What's the purpose of this? Is it around they're feeling they're becoming really agitated all the time, or they can't relate to people, connect to people, or they find that they're becoming really stressed at work? They find they can't go to sleep because their mind doesn't switch off. So you got to tap into like what is it that's actually going on for them, and then I guess the idea is okay. Well, then find the best technique that'll work for them for that scenario.
So does with mindfulness, as in like meditation, and if someone comes in with deep depression, for example, is compared to someone who has an erratically anxious mind, would you say mindfulness is probably not the first go-to for the person with the depression? Because is depression like you have to talk about what got you to there, and then anxiety, your mind's too busy? Is that kind of, it's horses for courses, right?
Not necessarily. I don't think so. So when we're talking about, let's go call, instead of putting labels like in terms of depression, anxiety, let's just call it the emotions.
Okay.
So obviously depression is sadness, anxiety is anxiety. They're kind of pretty regular emotions that we have.
Yep.
I find in both scenarios, a lot of the time it's our relationship with those emotions that are the issue. So as you're aware as mindfulness practitioners, it's actually just acknowledging things for what's there, either be thoughts or emotions or physical sensations, right? So, for example, a lot of the time I find with people who are depressed is it's not the sadness that they feel, it's their relationship with that sadness. So if I feel sad, there's got to be something wrong with me. There's something catastrophic going on in my life. What's wrong with me? I can't feel sad. It's not... I'm living I'm a first world person. How can I be feeling sad?
Yep.
And they start, really getting hard on themselves for being so. So it's that relationship of having that emotion that's the issue. What mindfulness can, I guess, assist you with is actually seeing the emotion for how it is and accept it.
Totally.
I guess being non-judgmental about it and learning that it exists in all of us. And once we accept that, you'll actually find that the emotion has less power.
Yep, totally. I think the best lesson I ever learned in all of this was that they use the analogy of when you clench your fist and you say, my fist is clenched. You don't say, I'm clenched. So then why would you say, when you have an angry thought, why would you say, I'm angry? As opposed to, oh, there's just an angry thought there.
Yeah.
And like the more you detach that. Yeah, so is it going on with what Bill's saying? Bill was asking if there were two different things, but mindfulness teaches you just to relax and look at it separate as just what they are, thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
And then the more you let those pass through, they can really help with depression and anxiety and any sort of mental health issue.
Yeah. And anger as well. Like anger is another really common presentation. And so the variation really about that is, okay, but because we try and get really physical with it as well sometimes. So where do you feel things in the body when you have these emotions? So anger, it could be in the fists and so on. In the jaw, it could be in the heart beating. Sadness could be the pit of your stomach. And people will be able to talk about the different areas where they actually feel the emotion in their body. That's probably the variation with it.
That's so true.
That's interesting. I never actually thought that, I never actually thought that you could feel actual sensations in your body from certain things that are going on.
I didn't even think of that.
Once back in the day, I've only been, how people say heartbroken?
Yeah.
Like, I've only been really super upset about a relationship once. And I was talking to one of my mates about it.
I still like you, mate.
talking to one of the boys about it. A month after it all happened, I got basically didn't get what I wanted in the way of a relationship. I wanted to be with this girl, and she didn't really want that.
Yep.
And I was talking to one of my mates about it, and he goes, "Yeah, like how's it all going?" And I said to him, "Man, do you know what's going on right now?" He goes, "What?" I said, "My heart is hurting.
Yeah.
Like I feel chest pain." like daily.
Loser.
But in all seriousness, I was like, because you know how you see like movies and you hear mainly chicks, guys obviously don't normally talk about, oh my God, I got heartbroken. But I realised, I'm like, this is strange. This is an actual definite physical feeling. How does that work? What's going on when that happens?
As I said, the mind body always have a connection. They always kind of talking to each other. That never ends. Never.
So if you're stressed or you're nervous in the pit of your stomach, that's your mind telling your stomach to, hey, act up, play weird. We're under stress here.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a sign, and it's actually a good sign for our minds to go, I need to take care of myself here. For most people, it's like, oh, I've got to find some safety because it's I'm feeling under threat. In danger.
It's like a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
God, that's amazing, isn't it? I'm just thinking of all the different feelings I'll sometimes get that are totally related to the emotions I'm feeling at the time.
Yeah.
Gee, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it varies for different emotions, and it varies for different people, of course.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you don't have it but you also have it in spots that are stronger than others, or you identify with that area more for whatever reason.
Exactly. I was just thinking, for my example, then I was just thinking, people get really worried when they feel like a hard chest or something, heart pain, when it's probably sweet. I mean, that's a strong emotion, but or a strong sensation. But when we laugh, to the point where I can't get up off the chair and I'm feeling a lot of pain in my stomach, that's like a good pain, so I don't recognise it as an issue. Yeah. It's interesting, really.
But it's the same physical sensation.
It's the same. It's like the same.
Tighten up here.
Yes.
And you guys will notice it as trainers. You notice the difference between DOM soreness and I've actually really hurt myself here. I need to go and see someone about it.
And rhabdomyolysis.
I need to go get some Reiki. Hashtag Reiki.
Got a Reiki. Have a Reiki sesh.
Gotta go get raked. So you like that one, Tommy?
I just thought it was
Wasn't
fun.
that good?
Sounded like someone else. That's what I was.
I actually wasn't meaning in the rapey terms, but so
Consensual Reiki.
Consensual Reiki. Sorry, Michael, I've lost the plot. What I was going to say is, how much does nutrition come into when someone walks in the door? Do you talk through people with what they're actually eating, what they're putting in their body? Because if you're going to be feeding yourself shit all day, every day.
Yeah. So the main ones, the main ones we find is, they're all good nutrition. Obviously, what we fuel ourselves with has an influence on our bodies and therefore our moods.
Sorry.
The main one that comes out to me is particularly around anxiety, so caffeine and sugar.
Yeah.
Because they elevate. So basically, you remember, anxiety can start off in the mind or in the body. So if you actually lift up, if you actually eat sugar and caffeine.
I've actually lost it. I'm so sorry. I'm completely lost it.
Talking about sugar and caffeine.
This is my worst nightmare right now. I'm losing it.
Never happened before.
Yeah, I know.
You lost me with that. Consensual. Sorry, Michael. Shit.
Oh.
Fuck.
Yeah, no good. All right, I'm going to sit down here for a second. I'm just going to let you talk.
Should we start again?
Yeah, we probably should.
We can just keep recording.
It's classic.
We'll get our shit together.
It's absolutely classic.
Anyway, sorry. So, but in all seriousness, because people talk about the fact that people go to the doctors to get mental health plans, and the doctors don't very often actually ask what's your diet like and really look into that side of it. And then when they get referred on to you, though, you do.
It depends. I wouldn't say. Yeah, look, we would. It was something we would look at. It's a lifestyle factor. There's different types of lifestyle factors we need to kind of look at.
Yeah.
So nutrition would be one of them. But as I said, in particular, around anxiety, things like caffeine and sugars, and actually really a lot of the times, sometimes a lot of the prescribed medications. So even those energy drinks now, and et cetera, you'd be surprised now in terms of what people can apply themselves to. They can get things legally. So for example, energy drinks and caffeine and sugar, and then find some ways to dumb down that night, like prescribed medication.
Yep.
So it kind of teaches the body that you need that, so you do the same thing over and over again each day. Mm-hmm. So it's something we would kind of ask about or investigate about, but yeah, it depends on what else comes up in the conversation and their presentation.
So it's more stimulants, but yeah, I just think there's a really interesting... I don't know. What do you think? I don't think it doesn't seem like it's explored that much. So say for example somebody comes in. I'm not saying you're doing a bad job, or doctors do a bad job. Obviously, you studied in what you studied, but someone comes in and they're eating McDonald's 5 days a week for the last 3 years. You know, surely that's got to have...
Food is a drug. Like, I remember one of the first things you asked me when I came to see you was, you know, have you had any past experiences on drugs, you know, and things like that. And I reckon it has a massive factor. Like, I remember I had a panic attack once doing a public speak because when I was making a...
Doing a public speak.
Doing a public speak. When I was making
You didn't say that up there, did you?
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to...
No, when I was doing a talk, because I'd had a coffee before that, and I never drink coffee, you know. And like food, Bill just said the example of McDonald's, and McDonald's is a drug, and food is a drug. I'm sure there would be... that would be so closely related to mental.
Well, you know, and you know, when you explain that situation, the first thing, there's two different types of way we look at nutrition as well, isn't it? It's like how it affects us psychologically, but also how it affects our body.
Yeah,
and
that's
therefore
what I'm
then you got a body
talking about,
image component. Because you know, because you've got the issue around, well, I'm feeling overweight and blah blah blah, and I really like how I look and et cetera, et cetera. Then you're dealing with another factor on top of that. But I mean, yeah, I think, look, at the moment we've got a health psychologist who's really interested in gut health, and she's really into the type of food we put in the body is really, really important. Yeah. And that she believes there's a real psychological component in terms of our gut health. So obviously we're talking about like food intolerances, et cetera, et cetera, and how they can affect us psychologically. And I think there's some merit there. It's just like chronic pain. Yeah. You know, if you walk around in chronic pain, it has effect on us psychologically.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
That's more what I was thinking. I wasn't even thinking down the lines of, obviously, image portrayal, like if you are overweight or skinny or too skinny. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was more thinking about like the food, what it actually does to our insides and our system if you're just eating crap. Yeah. It's just, I just find it really interesting because I don't understand any of that. Like what your gut biome does to your energy levels and your system and your mindset. I don't understand a lot of it because it kind of goes over my head. But I listen to some podcasts. I've listened to stuff about it. It's very interesting to me, so I thought I would ask. Yep.
But it's an area that's probably not fully tapped in terms of psychological component anyway. I mean, I think there's enough nutrition and dietary information out there and fads and so on. But how it's being pulled together psychologically, I think there's room for growth. I know, as I said, the health psych at Mindfulness, it's something that she really wants to explore further.
Do you use some of those ideas into your own practice outside of the profession?
For me personally, or just with other teams I consult with?
For you personally, like, would you look at the diet and you know, all that sort of stuff? Yep.
Yeah, I think I think when you're in the health field, you can't help but tap into other areas that you know all kind of cross over at some point, don't you? And then you know, obviously, if you want to practice what you preach a little bit. I'm definitely kind of mindful of, you know, what my diet's like and so on and so forth.
Do you know anything about the ketogenic diet?
No.
Oh, it's just so the ketogenic diet's when you eat predominantly fat as your fuel source. Yeah. So you're obviously going to still get your protein in. You just limit your carbs to, I think it's like 10% of your daily intake, and then there's a huge portion is fats, good fats obviously, and then protein, just your regular portion. And then after a couple of weeks, your body will start to run on fat, and it produces ketones in your brain, which I don't understand. Again, if you read the Bulletproof Diet, you know the Bulletproof Diet is fat. That's basically the ketogenic diet. And it's just interesting. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about why, because they say it gives you a sharper mental acuity. Like you're able to process things a lot faster when your brain's running on ketones, and I don't know anything about it, so it's something that I would love to look into. I wanted to try it for myself because I went through some stuff that I was feeling pretty shit before I went to this US trip, and the US trip was really not very enjoyable for me. The people were great. I made some great friends, all that stuff, but like had a lot of stress going on. Okay. And that's when I talked to you when I got back briefly. But I wanted to look into the ketogenic diet just to see if your brain's functioning faster and you're feeling smarter. A lot of people use it to feel smarter and be a better, more efficient businessman or entrepreneur. I wanted to test it out because surely if you're feeling tip-top up here, you're going to feel pretty good in your mental state, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know one guy who did that as well. He had some other kind of health issue, and he switched to that, and he's in the health profession as well. He swears by it. He reckons, you know, how it really changed, and all his blood levels completely changed. And when he actually did it, behind his kind of doctor's back about what he was doing, and said, but do my retesting and just to see what he like is. Wow, what have you done? It's amazing. And he told him what he had done, which is generally against the medical advice, and he was kind of blown away.
Yeah, it's interesting. The only thing is, it's really
all this, isn't there?
Yeah,
Like, there's
And
so
also,
many
is it
new fads
sustainable?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so I'm not saying it. You know, you got to find something that's sustainable for you.
Yeah.
that's what the hardest thing is with a ketogenic diet. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Like you're eating nuts.
Yeah.
You're eating with your protein. You're trying to get as much fish in as possible, and you're eating shitloads of avocado.
Yeah, yeah.
Like how many other real
It's
good,
tough.
like dense fat consumptions or products are there that you can get enough fat in?
Exactly.
So like it's just
He was
really
eating like fatty. He was just going to like a butcher and eating a whole lot of fatty meats.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
all the fat on.
yeah.
Eating it all. You know.
Yeah.
That's right. And I hear really good responses for it. So I'm going to try it out at some point. It's just, like I say, it's just really hard to actually get everything in place and work. Because if you go and have a couple of cheat meals, you drop out of ketosis, and then it takes a while to get back. It's a bit of,
How long does it take to get back into it?
I'm not sure. I'm not. There's no point me going too much into it, really, because I don't know enough about it. It'd be
I just
bullshit
reckon
if I did.
I'd be so far out of it, given the fact that I had one large oak chocolate milk, a pie, and a sausage roll this morning for breakfast at the local 7-Eleven.
Really?
Yeah. Gee, look, I mean, I'm an athlete, and you got to have cheat meals, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah,
Chocolate milk's high in
three
recovery.
in one sitting.
What was that? Sorry.
Chocolate milk is high in recovery.
Yeah, it is. Yep. Sausage
Chocolate
roll
milk
is
is probably the healthiest thing.
That's
Hey?
probably was. The pie was. I've got the med sweats right now. So the sausage roll. I think I've currently got
That's
cancer.
disgusting, man.
It was shocking.
I felt really unhealthy
Obviously, you
being around
trained
you.
really hard this morning.
No. I woke up at
slept really
6.
hard.
Yeah, I slept really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if we're talking about somebody coming in, so we're not talking about sports psychology, right? Someone's just coming in. We in our conversations, we talk a lot about meditation.
Yes.
In me and Tommy specifically, and then us specifically when you've been on the show.
Yeah.
So my grandfather had depression for 40 years. He was medicated and stuff. Aside from medication, how do you fight an illness like that? I mean, obviously, meditation, you're going to be saying meditate daily and all this, but what other stuff do you attack an illness like that with?
Well, illness is different to mental health.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So there's variations, of course, and you got to remember there's, to set up the platform there's variations of mental health too. So when I hear about your grandfather having depression for 40 years, I go, okay, he was. I imagine, but he was medicated. Is that right?
He was medicated from when he was 38, I think.
Yeah.
And then
the rest
he had
of his
a
life.
mental breakdown, and
Yep.
then from stress, and then he was medicated, and he was great. He was the life of the party, the most outgoing guy, really loving to everyone, really stood proud, and I never knew until he was 60. I think he died when he was 67. He killed himself, and I think they changed his medication. They took it off the market and just varied it basically, and then so he stayed on it, but they just changed it a little bit. And then for the last 2 or 3 years of his life, he behaved kind of like you see in a movie of someone with really heavy depression, like doesn't look anyone in the eyes, sits in their chair, won't talk to anyone. And I had all these cousins and all my little cousins. I really felt the worst for my little cousins because I knew him as the great. I called him Super Grandpa. That was his name, and I knew him as he was like
The life of the party.
hero of mine, kind of, and my little cousins loved him like you love any of your grandparents, but they didn't even see that side of him. He was this shell of a person that they saw and they loved him, But yeah, so that's the story behind my grandpa basically. But he was medicated for 40 years.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So there's different. I guess there's different types of mental illness as well. Mental health. So there are a lot of people who only delve in the mild, moderate kind of range. So. And that would be, so when we talk about, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people establishing mental illness, it kind of takes up this whole platform of some, like any other physical health issue. They can be quite mild or moderate, and then they can be more kind of very severe.
Yeah.
So, when I hear your grandfather like that, it's probably more in the severe kind of range.
Yeah.
So our approach, depending on where they're at, and we can kind of measure that by both testing and through interviewing, gives us an idea about what they most need. Now, there's different philosophical approaches with this, but for me, I'm someone who, if there's 2 significant intervention points, there's medication and there's therapy. So obviously psychiatrists and GPs do the medication side of things, psychologists and so on do the therapy kind of component. Although some psychiatrists do the therapy component too. So where they sit is typically where we can actually say, okay, this would be the best form of treatment for them.
Right.
But a lot of evidence when you get to severe onwards, the severe or extremely severe mode, and particularly long term, it appears that medication is required as well as therapy.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is it so when it's very severe, do you use the medication as like a numbing so that you can work productively with therapy?
I would call it more of a stabilisation than numbing. Yeah. Yep. And sometimes, and the issue around medication, of course, is getting the right one.
Yeah.
So this is the hard part. I think people get, you really hope that it works early because people get fairly disheartened. People don't like the stigma of being on medication. So if they have side effects or they feel like it's not working or they're not adhering to it, it can kind of really upset the work.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel numb, they say.
Yeah, their emotions are numb.
Yeah. Because I've had this little bit of anxiety and stuff going on the last couple of years or whatever, I've spoken to a lot of people about it and they've given, a lot of people have given me their side that they've been personally through the same stuff and they've either been medicated or not. And the ones that have been medicated, it's been so varied. I've had a couple of people that I know that said, don't, and I never really wanted to unless I really, really, really needed to because of obviously what happened with Grandpa. And just in general, you don't want to get a medication if you don't have to. But a lot of people were... said that it just numbed their senses 100%, and then they didn't have any really super negative thoughts, but they had no joy in life as well. And but then on the other hand, and this is a really close friend of mine, I've spoken about him on the show, but I won't mention his name. He's actually just got on medication, and it's bloody awesome. I'm so happy for him because he's one of the greatest guys ever, and it's gotten him back to where he always was and how he should be. And he feels at the moment, I talked to him a bit, and he feels like it's just been nothing but a positive influence. He doesn't have that numbing. He's just like, I feel like myself again.
Yeah.
Really? He's really happy with it. He's really, really happy with it. And that's what another friend of mine, one of my best mate's cousins said the same thing. She's been, never would guess it. She had the same thing. She felt like it just got her back to being her. As opposed to, some people who just say it just kills all their senses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think those two examples are pretty typical examples I've heard. I've heard both of those fairly frequently. And so, it's one form. And I think what I try and encourage people to do is, okay, if the first one doesn't work, like it does numb you don't like that side effect or they have other side effects, it's worthwhile keep on trying with some others because there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
And, where there's not some kind of test you can do, okay, your brain needs this specific one. And, unfortunately, in the medical world, we don't get it right the first time.
Trial and error.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's hard. I mean, when it's mental health, like every person's mind is just so unique, and and it's so subjective to say this medication will work for you and it will work for you.
Yeah,
it's hard to put it into groups.
Yep.
Don't you reckon?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
So. One thing I've always wanted to know, so we're talking about ways that you treat anxiety and depression. So always think of The Sopranos. Do you ever watch The Sopranos?
Yeah.
And Tony Soprano goes in and it's... Oh, did you see it, Tommy?
No.
Did you watch it?
No.
It's just like The Sopranos, obviously, it's an ongoing part of the series is Tony Soprano sitting down with his counsellor and a psychologist and just talking about all the shit he's done and his family and all that. And I've always wondered, it just sticks, when I think of sitting down with a psychologist, I think of Tony Soprano.
Oh dear.
Is he like lying down on a bed and...
No, he's not. He doesn't lie down on the bed, but you think about that as well. He just sits in a chair, but they have this discussion. So how does that actually work in terms of helping somebody get out of depressive states and stuff? How does it actually...
Look, I don't know if I'll use the Tony Soprano example as one, but look, for me, when someone engages on a mental health scale, I reckon the most important part to start off with is them actually you're helping them best understand their illness, if that makes sense. So a lot of time people are really confused about what's actually happening with them. And I actually think we've got what's what we call psychoeducation. If we can teach the client actually exactly what's going on, what are the trigger points, what are the particular issues, why it happens and when, what are the different emotions, etc., how they're possibly avoiding some areas in life that are unhelpful. Once we kind of give them the landscape of that, it actually gives them a lot of power because they go, hey, I can actually do a lot about this. I'm actually just not the whim of this illness. There's all these scenarios that Michael has talked to me about that I actually go, okay, I can do something about that there. Yep, I'm empowered to change that there. Yeah, I can alter this relationship, whatever it might be.
Right.
And it gives them, I actually whiteboard it for them. I actually give them a framework and educate exactly what's going on for them psychologically. But the best thing about it, I think, is, I look at it and go, which ones do you think you can change? Which ones do you think you can adjust right now? So it could be things around, diet, is that, or it could be about a particular relationship. It might be a particular type of thinking pattern. It might have been something that's still really angry about 20 years ago.
Do you do that with the putting them on the board because some people are visual learners rather than...
Yep.
Yeah, that's
there's that component as well, but sometimes it's good to put in a picture, isn't it? And see exactly what it is.
See what's on. Yeah.
And you're connecting it. This is leading to that.
Yeah.
Leading to that. And they go, now I get it.
Because my business coach, Ariane, he's also very good with mindset, really. He's kind of like my psychologist as well as my business coach. And there was one particular, when I got back from the US, I was emailing him in the US going, I'm done with this. I've had this happen. I can't believe I was like pretty low ebb business-wise.
Okay.
And when I got back, I only catch up with him, I was telling you earlier in the show, once a fortnight for an hour. So, I'm paying a lot of money for that to get business insights. But we spent ended up being about 2 hours, spent that whole time talking about mindset and mindfulness and whatever. And he put it all on the board. And, when he actually drew it out, and he drew, problems that I have, like I don't provide myself time for myself. So he drew on a chart. He goes, this is when I give you a task. This is when the task should be done. You do the task here. So for the listeners, a meter is basically the width of the timeline, and then I'm doing it as an inch later.
3 centimeters.
An inch later, yeah. And then you're like, what's next? And I realised that, but that was one of the things that he drew. But when he drew it up on the board, it made heaps of sense. And I actually got him to take a photo and email me the photo. I've still got the photo in my emails to kind of refer to because it just made heaps of sense to me.
Yeah, I do that too. Take photos of whatever I draw up there, what we're talking about, and send it to them, and they sit on it and they kind of read it, and then they can actually see why, when things play out during their week in between when they see me next, they can actually refer to it and go, okay, now I understand what's happening here. So just the awareness identification is a really important component, and if you don't have that early and you can't explain it to them or they don't understand it themselves, how can you intervene?
Yeah.
Like, how can you possibly put the interventions in place unless we both understand it well?
They've got to be completely honest with you as well, don't they?
I
imagine that the first couple of times they walk in, you get some people that are maybe in denial about something, or they're not aware of it and they wouldn't be telling you the whole scenario. And are you pretty aware of that when those people present themselves?
And so you just, to me, I go, quite understandably, you met me for the first time. This can be really uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I need to establish some trust with you.
Yeah.
And once you have that, maybe we can work better together. The hardest part about our job is patience.
Yeah.
So unfortunately or fortunately, clients want things a lot of the time now.
Yeah.
They want 1 or 2 sessions. Let's go.
Yeah.
We're talking about the last 30 years of your life. It's going to be hard to do that,
For sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a relatively personal question, if that's cool with you. I was wondering what led you onto the path of getting into mental health, and if something traumatic happened in your life that made you rewrote.
Yeah, look, I think, I don't want to go into it because just in case I don't want to expose the person on air or anything like that. But yeah, there's definitely a personal scenario I went through in my teenage years that affected not just me, but family and other people around me. And I think that had a bit of a long-lasting sense of this. And I remember, actually, I didn't even do psychology in year 12. I only started at uni. So it was in my second year, and I came across a particular component. I realised that what this person had gone through, and it really had an impact on me. And I just initially engaged with it, in that particular component of psychology, and it related to her. And that kind of really inspired me. I could see myself going, so there's a lot of good in this.
Yeah.
This is an area I'm really, really interested in taking on.
Yeah.
So what about when you're sitting down with someone and you're nutting out things in their past? So you talk about putting stuff on a board and talking about what's going on with you now. So just again, my example was that example of I do things too quick and I want to get on to the next thing, and which is all well and good, but I don't provide time for myself. And I'm very much not a high energy person, so I need to have that time to. So I established that by having this conversation. So it's written up on the wall. And I'm like, that makes total sense. You know, like you say. But what about when somebody comes to you and they have something that you can't change? So something that's like obviously something in their past that their father was, you know, abusive, or they watched something horrific happen to one of their friends, or something like that, something that's set. How do you get around that scenario?
Yeah, so like there's a past trauma,
Yeah.
let's say. Yeah, I mean, again, it's that relationship with that trauma. Most of the time it's because it's still impacting on them as it happened yesterday. So it's because a lot of the time they're avoiding it, or it's having a subconscious impact on them. So a lot of the time, unfortunately, to kind of go back there and kind of relive it and re-experience it to kind of change its shape, and that allows you to kind of go forward with it again. So you are changing, but you're changing your relationship with that incident, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
The way you think about it and feel about it changes.
So how do you go back and relive it then? How does that actually play out?
Yeah, we can do the way I do it is through imagery. So I do it through visualization and actually re-experiencing it. But a lot of time when people have these experiences, they haven't talked about it ever.
Yeah.
Or for a long time. And so you'd be actually surprised at how lack of detail it is. And when they're actually going into talking about it further into a deeper, and you keep on kind of going through it really deeply, they actually, most of the time, they come in and go, it actually wasn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah. Yep, because it's out there now.
Yeah.
Is that why journal writing works so well?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
You can just see for what it actually is. And
Yeah,
it's just,
exactly.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Okay. Well, Bill and I have definitely taken on that. Are you still doing your journal writing? Yeah.
Yep. Missed yesterday. I hate it when I miss a day.
Yeah.
I only started journal writing because Tommy was talking about it. So now in the mornings, we nearly talk about this every show. Yeah. Now in the mornings.
It's so good.
Yes. But
is there a particular structure to it?
We do. We have some structure, yeah.
I'll show you mine. Mine's just... Yeah.
Mine's pretty similar.
Oh, no, mine's in my bag over there. I won't get it out. It's just like mine's a little book, and literally all I do is write 3 points that I'm grateful for, and they might be two lines. Yep. And I don't know whether this is right or wrong. It's just the way I've been doing it. But I don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. Yep. Not even close to that. I'll write something down. If something's negatively impacting me, like I've got the national... I fly to Brisbane this afternoon to compete in the national championships weightlifting. And the last 3 months, or probably 2 months of training have been horrible. They were all right until I went to the US and I didn't get a chance to train. When I came back, far out, 3 weeks, and I'd really just lost everything, strength-wise and stuff. Yeah. So, and I was just having a real tough run. So if I'm feeling particularly bad about weightlifting, what I'll do is I'll write, I'm really grateful that I'm able to train with my friends at my weightlifting club, because I had back injuries, I couldn't even train. Yeah. So it's my favourite place to be. So it's not all bad. Yeah. You know, it's just, I'm not going to win the Olympics, you know. So I try and frame negative things in a positive way. Yeah. And then also... there's basically just that, and then if I can't think of anything, like I say, I'm busy and I just want to get a quick win. I'll write something pretty broad down. Like I'm really happy to have this roof over my head, you know, because I do, and there's so many people that don't. So I don't actually. I was talking to my mate Asher, who listens to the podcast, about this practice as well. He was we're talking about some stuff, and I was telling him how he should try it. And he's like, oh yeah, but what would I think of? I'm like, man, there's so many things to be grateful for, and it doesn't have to be creative. Yeah,
people think of like they're going to think of the next overseas holiday, or you know, winning Tats Lotto, or you know, there's something that really. It's like it could be just the appreciation of someone smiled at you as you walk past them in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So that's me. In the mornings now, I have a warm shower, finish on a cold shower for a couple of minutes, and then I meditate and I'll journal and I try and read. So it's really good. But the gratitude stuff, I actually felt like nearly more than anything that had nearly more than even meditation that had a positive impact on me.
Yeah, there's a lot of good evidence for gratitude journal and happiness. Yeah,
because
it's just positive energy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and it gives us perspective. Yeah, you know. So think about the times when you were feeling down. You could have easily sunk into that further, couldn't you? You could have really let that surround you for a long period of time. But it's a simple question of things that you can appreciate. What you do have allows you to go, okay, actually, there's a bit of balance to this.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's never all that bad.
Well, I reckon we should...
simple task that anyone can do, and as I said, it takes you 5 minutes a day.
Yep. Have you got good, the bad, science? Do you? You've got good, bad science.
I've got it.
Oh, I didn't realise you had it. Let's go.
I've got
What
the
do
good,
you
bad
got?
science.
We haven't done the good, the bad, and the science for a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, we've had a lot of Skype interviews and a lot of ones with just me and Bill. So this is going to be fun. I'm excited about it.
I remember it from last time.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
Talking about trauma.
Very true.
At least you didn't get a song this time.
Yeah, you didn't get
True.
That's right.
True.
Well, hey, that's not traumatic. Naked man exposes his sausage at Waffle House. A witness said, "I wouldn't know how to tell my kid what was going on at the time. He was built like a potato. A man has been found showing his waffle at a Waffle House. A Georgian man is facing public indecency charges after allegedly trying to force his way into Waffle House while stark naked. Bashir Rashid, 36. You know Bashir Rashid.
Know him well.
Yeah, he's a funny. We had him on the show actually. Bashir. He's in fine dining. Okay.
I've mashed waffles with him.
Yeah, you have to. That's right. The Hamal. Bashir Rashid, 36, was arrested June the 7th after he drove his BMW to a Waffle House in Sandy Springs, got out of the car and tried to enter the restaurant without clothes. Now, this got me thinking, guys, what are some of the weirdest things you guys have done whilst completely naked? Now, Bill, I reckon you've done about 50 of them. give us one. Give us one. And then we'll move over to Mike.
Oh,
Really?
weird things I've done. Weird things I've done while
Apart from the last show.
while completely naked. I've done a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of silly things completely naked.
Yeah.
Probably the silliest was, I think we spoke about it though the other day when I jumped out of that tree naked.
Oh, yeah. Why are you naked again?
Because we thought it would be funnier.
It is always funny.
What happened, Michael, was we were actually talking about it on the other show because I talked about how much dumb stuff I've done when I was young and when I was like wasted, basically. Yeah. And me and my friend broke into a primary school once, and the pool had a mat over it. So we had beers with us. We had three mates. So one of them was the film where me and Sugar, my mate, were the ones that were going through it. So we made this clip where one of them was standing there naked. We cheers our beers, and then it was a run across the pool naked while you scull a beer off. So there was three things you could win. No, two things you could win. You could win the sculling of the beer, and you could win the running across the pool naked. So that's... Look, I don't really need to go any further. That's pretty stupid. And then we jumped out a couple of trees into the pool.
I've got a really big fear about running across like a pool with a mat on it, because I feel like if I just fell in there, the mat would engulf me and I would drown.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Well, that's how my grandpa killed himself.
That's the first thing I think about it.
That's how my grandpa killed himself.
Really?
Is it
Yeah,
really?
who I was talking about before.
Wow.
Because he couldn't swim that well, and he ducked under the matting of his best friend's pool.
Yeah.
And because he knew he wouldn't really be able to get out.
Yeah. See, that freaks me out. Anyway, moving on. The bad.
Yeah.
Parents are turning to marijuana. Oh, no, hang on a second. Oh, you almost got past me there.
It's like not in my head.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Done
go on.
anything?
Bad?
Done anything with whilst being
I don't
naked?
think I've got... I don't
Maybe a
think
session with someone?
No.
So tell me about your issues, mate.
We do have boundaries.
Yeah, that's right.
Unfortunately, we've got a whole lot of ethical guidelines.
That's not what you told me. I'm joking.
Am I a life coach?
Yeah, that's true. No, we'll move on. Alrighty. The bad. Parents are turning to marijuana more than teens, a study suggests. Marijuana use is often a top concern among parents of teens, but a new government report suggests it's not the kids you need to worry about. A 12-year report from the Centers for Disease Control released Friday shows a surprising trend. Older people and not teens are turning to pot at a more rapid rate. Now, I wanted to ask you, Mike, if you've had any experiences on marijuana, but also too, if you think there's any positive benefits for marijuana use in the mental health industry.
None at all. In fact, that's a big concern.
Yeah.
So the initial triggers for people experiencing mental health typically occurs between the ages of 15 and 25.
Okay.
Okay. So, and if you do the maths, when is people most likely going to try marijuana? 15 to 25. What's most likely going to try regular use of marijuana? 15 to 25. It's highly linked to psychosis as well, particularly when the brain is underdeveloped. The brain isn't fully developed till 25.
Yeah.
So it's a plethora of bad news, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I can't give you any positives.
So why do you think parents are turning to it then?
Why do you think parents are doing it? cope with the kids.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't know.
I have a question that's
I
directly
assume it's accessibility. I don't know what area this article you got this from.
This was
BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
Because I imagine there'd be hotspots. I don't know if this would be the general population.
Yeah, that's true.
IFL Bro Science. No, but I have a genuine question on that topic. We have a interview lined up in 2 weeks with a woman named Jessica Nielsen from MAPS. Do you know MAPS?
Stands for
M something A something
Society.
Psychosis.
Psychedelic studies.
Yeah, she's doing
psychedelic studies.
yeah.
Do you know Tim Ferriss? Are you aware of Tim Ferriss?
Yeah.
So Tim Ferriss is self-funding, helping fund and self-funding a big portion of studies through, I don't know, it's Princeton or one of the universities for studies to use psilocybin mushrooms as the treatment of anxiety, depression, and PTSD.
Right.
And MAPS have done lots of studies for psilocybin, ayahuasca, and there's maybe another one. Do you know anything about this? Because
That is different to marijuana, though.
yeah, it's totally different. It's a different drug.
right.
But what I'm saying is, don't worry about marijuana.
All
I'm
right.
just saying.
Some of these illicit substances can be used as a helpful form of treatment.
Yeah, well, so ayahuasca, for example, ayahuasca is a class 1 drug in the United States, so like same as heroin, and it's medicine in South America. So Brazil tried to ban ayahuasca. A lot of the rest of South America, I believe, ayahuasca is banned or illegal. Sorry, but ayahuasca, the shaman and all the indigenous in Brazil and Peru and in the Amazon were like, you can't take this away. This is one of our most important medicines. You can do whatever you want. You can ban it wherever, but this is ours. We created this. This helps our society. So we're going to talk to this lady from MAPS because I don't really know all that much about it. But have you heard about these studies or anything like that?
No, I haven't. No, the first thing I'd ask is, I don't want to rain on Jessica's parade in a couple of weeks, but yeah, I don't know how longitudinal they are as well.
Yep.
So that's probably the biggest thing you'd probably want to check out first. So there can be, with some of these trials, there can be some short-term evidence, but not long-term, and understand it. So no, not that I'm aware of.
So what are the issues with with psychedelic drugs, mushrooms, for example, and then marijuana or maybe mushrooms more so? Why do people claim that it sends them crazy? Is that a fallacy, or is that like people? You know how people go on a trip and don't come back?
Yeah.
People say that. I always wondered whether that was my friend. One of my friends, Mike, he went to a psych ward or whatever when he was 18 because he had a mushroom and went crazy, whatever. But he'd been taking lots of ecstasy, smoking weed since he was 12 years old. It was a straw that broke the camel's back. So I always wondered whether it was a old wives' tale or whether there was something behind it.
I've had clients when I've used through my training in the substance use environment, and I remember quite specifically when people feel like they really lost their minds after hallucinogens. So that's the category you're talking about is the hallucinogens, which are different to different drugs like marijuana and so on.
made.
Yeah. No, hallucinogens are a different category of drug.
Yes,
They're in their own category where I think you're talking about when you're talking about mushrooms and trips and so on.
Yes,
where people feel like they've lost their mind and been hospitalised and so on and so forth. Because I can think of other clients I've had as well. Yeah, they've dabbled here and there, as like an ecstasy and so on, and but it was the trip that took them over the edge and hospitalised for 3 to 4 months and et cetera,
really?
et cetera. Yeah.
Do you know another funny thing? I read an article the other day about Silicon Valley, young Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. The new craze is microdosing with LSD.
Really?
Yeah, because apparently there's an amount of LSD that you can obviously take in that it's nowhere near hallucinogenic states, doesn't actually affect you at all, but it opens up like levels of creativity. Apparently these a lot of Silicon Valley, it's the trend. It was like a New York Times article I read, and it was about so people will get to a point where they need some creative inspiration on some project they're working on, and only use it once every month or whatever.
Yeah, it's like amphetamine and wanting to do long periods of concentration. And like a lot of uni students do that. They'll take amphetamines.
Tons of uni students do it. I've had mates to do it.
Yeah.
Speed, literally just snorting speed.
and just smashing out assignments.
Yep.
Really?
All-nighters, yeah.
It's insane.
Oh, that makes sense.
And probably in the employment industry as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Interesting.
So yeah, and they all talk about how really just narrow their focus gets. They just nail it. Yeah.
How-
The issue is though, whenever you use something like that, when you don't have it, your concentration's worse, and so it's hard to go back, isn't it? That's
You'll begin
always
to
the
rely
issue.
on it.
What's that?
You'll begin to rely on it.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll see. I mean, like, I just don't understand how taking a lot of speed, is anything worse than taking a lot of Red Bull. I don't know. That's more of a social norm thing. But anyway, we'll move on. Tommy Heard for president. Alrighty. Now, the new iPhone 7 was released yesterday, I believe. Some of the stuff that it's now water resistant. It's got AirPods, so there's no earphone jack. Some other stuff. I think the resolution on the camera is just enhanced.
Has it got an
way more.
unsmashable screen? That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Once.
Well, I think it does.
Every fucking
It's got the
iPhone
Bill
that I
Kerr, yeah. No, but I was just wondering, what would you guys like to see in 10 years' time, some of the technology progress with the iPhone 15, for example? And there's always concept videos on YouTube, and they always think that, we'll have holographic imaging for the iPhone 4 or the iPhone 5, it's the iPhone 7, they haven't had that now. There's two questions to this. So what do you think will happen in 10 years? And do you think they have the technology now, but they're just holding it for revenue purposes?
I always think about that second question. I'm always not sure whether they're just strategically small jumps up in.
Oh yeah.
I always wonder
It's
that.
almost a monopolised market. They can do what they want.
Yeah.
Also, isn't that Moore's law of? Is it Moore's law, whatever it is, that where technology will double every 18 months?
Oh, the exponential increase?
The speed of computing power.
Yeah.
There's an actual law called Moore. I think it's Moore's law. It might be something else law.
Yep.
So maybe it has something to do with that. I don't know.
What would you want?
Oh, we'll let Michael go.
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
Okay, I'll make a prediction.
Okay.
That in 10 years' time, we'll become so desocialised from smartphones that everyone will be going back to dumb phones again.
Really?
Everyone will be happy with their Nokia.
I am kind of with you on that. I think there's a huge market for a phone that has email and not much else.
No, phone call.
Yeah, I know, but I mean phone. But what I mean is, I think that could be a goer because I get frustrated by it.
So wait, you said phone port.
No, like that it just has it can be just only used as a phone.
Yeah, just phone.
It just has a number you can ring, and that's
Yep.
it. Not even text message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, okay. Have we ever had that before? We have.
You are fucking.
Oh, God.
You are Generation
That
Y.
could
That's
be.
for sure.
That could be the dumbest thing I've ever said in my whole life.
Alexander Graham Bell.
Yeah, that's true.
Alexander Graham Bell invented. He invented text messaging, then he
Yeah.
invented the phone.
Oh, my God.
That's great.
Oh,
So
God.
the dumb phones will be in.
Yeah.
The Motorola flips.
Well, I'll be amazed. I'll be using that one. I'll be using that.
You're already using the dumb brain.
Yeah.
That's good.
God.
That's good. Hey, what I think in 10 years' time though, I think I'm with Michael. I reckon there'll be an option for something where you can get taken away from all these apps.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think in 10 years for people that want the apps or want a phone like this is I think I get really frustrated when I go like this. Hey Siri, can you Google the best slice of pizza on the southern part of the Mornington Peninsula? Maybe Rye, at the back of Rye, or maybe... And then also, can you order me a DVD to my doorstep? I feel like watching Flight of the Conchords tonight. Thanks, Siri. What? She didn't say anything.
Me?
Pardon?
She said, who, me?
Yes, you, Siri. No,
Yes,
but in all
you.
seriousness, I think Siri will be a lot more advanced where,
Oh,
you know
yeah.
how you have to, it's amazing how you can just Google, shut up Siri now, you're off, your time's done.
We've got you on next week.
Yeah. You know how now you can just Google stuff at the drop of a hat, it's awesome, but I 100% believe that you'll just be able to talk to Siri. Siri will be 10 times smarter. Siri will be like talking to a proper person. Hey Siri, can you hook us up the number for blah, 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 give it a call. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Be
what
actually
you'll-
someone taking the actual right.
You guys
Not
haven't
a
seen
person.
the movie
Not a-
Her, have you?
not
You
a
seen the
person.
movie Her?
No.
It's based on that,
Oh yes,
Absolute
I have.
premise.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
where the Siri becomes
It's-
so smart, it has its own conscience in the end, and then actually leaves the software. So
Yeah.
the dude falls in love with Joaquin Phoenix, falls in love with Scarlett Johansson. Of course you would. I'm in love with it.
Well, it's a surprise.
And God, if Siri was
Siri, you told us Scarlett Johansson? Or you dating anyone at the moment?
who me,
entitled to that opinion.
that's so good.
All right, so that was a good around the science, by the way.
That was all right.
That was solid.
Yeah.
So, all right, well,
Excellent.
Michael, you probably got to get out of here shortly anyway. So we've already done
We've already done 3 from 3.
3 from 3.
Let's go.
Six
Let's go.
from
Your new one.
Yeah,
and then I'll do one new one as well.
Yeah, cool. So we normally obviously 9 from 9, but you've already done that before. Well, I've got a new question that I like to ask, which is, do you have any books that you often recommend to people?
I like to say I like to what I'm reading now, or
Or if you're reading a good book now.
actually, because you guys are into journaling, have you heard of The Artist's Way?
Probably my oldest friend.
Yeah.
It changed his life. The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
It changed his life.
Yeah.
I've got to read The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how he got through all of his mental health issues.
Okay.
Really?
It talks about how to journal, and it makes you journal like 15 minutes a day.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's a big commitment. Like,
Yeah.
He got me into journaling. That's who got me into journaling.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Really?
But very effective. Really effective. I had a lot of clients have had success with that.
So what's the difference between journaling and gratitude? Obviously, journaling's a lot more in depth,
Journaling's
but what are
more-
the benefits wise compared to journaling and just gratitude?
Honestly, I think self-awareness and self-reflection. You know, so I think we go through so much of our life in an unmindful way where we're just kind of reacting to things and so on.
Yep.
The journaling and so on allows us to stop and take stock of what's our experience been like. How do we actually emotionally respond to that? How do we feel about that? And how do we like to change or adjust that? And actually, when you write it out, because it slows everything down and you put it outside of your head onto something, it makes it a bit more real and meaningful. And so then therefore it adjusts your approach with whatever that situation is next time.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yep. And my question was, if you had, this is a very cliche question, but I would like to know your answer to this. If you had one more day, and you can't say spend it with your family, one more day to live, what would you do? And you just had, for some reason, you had $1 million. You could go anywhere. Just one thing that maybe something you want to cross off your bucket list. And you have one day.
If you just had one day, I don't know, I'd like to mountain bike across the Costa Rican rainforest.
Ooh, that's a really
That's a
good
nice
Point
one.
A to point B.
That's a nice one.
Good answer. Good answer. And then you die.
That's it. I would, but before between A and B, right?
Yeah, that's true. On the way.
It's a hell of a jungle, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So,
Excellent.
do you want to plug anything going on at the Mind Room at the moment? We talked about it earlier, but where can people find you and
Yeah.
websites?
So we're just based in Collingwood in Melbourne. We've got we actually have ongoing drop-in mindfulness. So if you guys are around on a Wednesday, 1 o'clock, people can drop in anytime.
Oh, that's cool.
We have ongoing kind of 6-week, 3-week mindfulness programs on weekends or in the evenings that we run. So it's really intro level mindfulness. So people who haven't done much or none at all, it's a really good class to do.
what does a drop-in mindfulness look like?
What's that, sorry?
What does a drop-in mindfulness class look like?
Exactly how it sounds. You literally drop in, and typically Jo, my business partner, one of our psychs, she'll run you through an exercise. There'll be some discussion, and it's a bit playful. You know, they'll use balloons or balls or something or other to make it a bit more interesting, I guess, as opposed to sitting still. So we're into more the creative elements of making not just a formal practice, but how to make it a bit more interesting and informal, but still create it to everyday life, if that makes sense.
Excellent.
But yeah, for all the sports performers out there, I'm doing that Come and Try Day in October and the Mindful Athlete in November. Mindroom.com.au if you want to check them out.
Beautiful.
Well, Mikey, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, mate. You're a true friend of Adventure for Radio. And it was another good one.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks for coming, brother. That's a wrap.
Alrighty, guys, we really hope you enjoyed the show. We'll probably get Mickey back on the show once every 6 to 8 months or so. Just check in with him. He's an absolute champion. Also, too, guys, we always chuck in everything in the show notes, which I was going to mention anyway. But if you wanted to know some more information about some of the stuff we speak about there, the Mind Room, the place he works, some of the mindfulness things that he does, just head to the website www.adventurefittravel.com/podcast, and you'll be able to click on the show and then be able to check into the show notes. Guys, while you are there, please jump on our mailing list as well. You can keep up to date with anything Adventure Fit Travel, anything Adventure Fit Radio. And let's today see if you can click that subscribe button onto iTunes. We really want it, guys. We want those subscriptions. Bill, how much do we want those subscriptions?
We want them a lot. I want them so much that if you subscribe today, this is a one-day-only offer, and you come around to my house, I will give you a wristy if you're a man, or I will kiss you on the neck. On the neck if you're a lady. What? What?
And a wristy if you are a woman.
Anyway, so we're also brought to you by True Pride today, guys. www.truepride.com.au/ADVF to get your free, to get your joining fee of $297 waived, get your budget sorted, save yourself $600 a month for the cost of $97 a month. And Carve, www.carve.ph/ADVF radio. Again, upscale your business, get yourself a VA, or just try and get time back in your life.
Excellent. That is a wrap, guys. Speak to you next week.
Bye.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.